God bless everybody today. It's November 20th of 2022. It's 2:37 a.m. I've noticed in the last 4 hours Turkey has finally unleashed in Syria. They have the occupation rights through the Syrian Defensive Forces. They now have launched a new operation in the last 4 hours called Operation Claw Sword against the YPG in northern Syria and the PKK in the Kurdish regions. So this is starting to ramp up quickly. We're starting to see massive attacks along this whole northern front, as you can see. Just in the last 4 hours, this is really starting to ramp up. I mean, when I went to bed, there was basically nothing going on. And each of these sites now just opened up on all these fronts. And so, and I said this in the dream that I had and the things I've seen, that they would unleash these fronts on both sides, that this would collapse down, and that we would see, we would see this whole thing collapse down. Now that Turkey has the rights to Syria, they can occupy this, okay? This is an invasion at this point, okay? They're going to invade. They're going to unleash their air force, or their air might, against these people. And as these different problems are going off in Iran, the Kurds have, we're in I can't imagine being the Kurds over here right now. They're being driven out of Turkey. They're being driven out of Syria. They're being driven out of Iraq. They're going to be shoved down around Baghdad and Shush, Iran, as Daniel 8 tells us. And once these groups get, as they start to attack, these people are going to start moving across the border here. There's 10 million people along this western region of Iran. Iran's in a mess with all these different protests and stuff going off about that Kurdish woman they killed for not wearing her headscarf. And so this is starting to unleash. But now Turkey is in the process of just hammering the Kurds on multiple levels here. And this is going to break down quickly. We got a green zone over here in Erbil. I keep talking about if Erbil falls here, in this area right here, this is the regional capital of the Kurdistan people. If they collapse, if this falls, this would collapse, and then they'd all go southeast because they can't go anywhere else, okay? So this is starting to really break down quickly. And now the Erdogan finally has unleashed, and he said he was going to. Once he did, he'd take this to the extreme, and he's going to take it to the extreme because he's got a collapsing lira. He's got inflation of 85%. He's got an election cycle in June of 23. He wants to rebuild the Neo-Ottoman Empire, the new Ottoman Empire, by the end of 23. On my paradigm, if you go in here and you look at how this is going to happen, and maybe I'm wrong, but it sure seems like it's starting to play out here, that Turkey would occupy Syria, and through these artillery attacks and invasion, they would collapse the Kurds down to Baghdad, to Shush, and once this group of people get down to the Ulai River in the Elam province of Shush, Iran, we would see Turkey destroy both these nations. And the Kurds somehow here have to be forced somehow, as Iran's sort of going against them, Iran's sort of going against the Kurds here, but they're going to have to capitulate here real soon. And Turkey's not going to capitulate against the Kurds. He's going to drive them this way, okay? And once they get down into this area, the prophecy of Daniel 8 says that once the Kurds join, somehow are forced to align with Iran, we would see Turkey cross both these nations. And you're going to watch this happen. Based on the paradigm that I've been talking about and that date stamp of Daniel 10, 4 and 13, verse 4 and 13, it talks about a 21-day war coming up. That potentially the first month of the 24th day of this next year would be the potential attack on this country, and that would last 21 days. And I keep talking about this date between January 24th of 23 and February 14th of 23, which is Valentine's Day, that this is a 21-day gap, and that Turkey would go against Iran for 21 days, and then God would send literally Michael, the archangel Michael, against this nation and destroy it in a matter of days. That's how fast this is going to happen. This isn't going to be a long, elongated war. And once he destroys this nation of Iran and absorbs it into this new neo-Ottoman nightmare that's coming up, they're going to go then against Egypt and Saudi Arabia. And they have a problem here, because once they do this and they destroy Iran or take this country over, they're going to have to come this way. And to get to Egypt, based on prophecy, they have a problem. They have to go through Jordan or Israel. Somehow they have to drive through the tip of this area to get over here, okay? That's what the Bible's been telling us. And then Daniel 8 morphs into, because once Iran is destroyed, Daniel 8 would then morph into Ezekiel 38 and 39. Erdogan would then form 10 full nations, drive to Egypt, then he gets pulled back by the hook. He leaves a sixth of his armies behind, and they come up to between the two seas, this sea and this sea, before they go into Israel. By the end of 23, October of 23. So understand that this is starting to happen quickly, and that if you're not prepping to get ready, you're not putting oil in your lamp to get ready for this potential war that's coming up, then you're not going to be ready. You got a railroad strike coming up on potentially December 9th, which would shut down a third of the country. You've got a diesel shortage here. You're starting to run out of time to prepare and get ready for this, and it's going to hit you like a freight train, and you're just not going to be ready if you're not getting ready now. Now, I'm not trying to panic you here, but, based on my calculations, you have 65 days from today before this potential attack on Iran. And we can sit here and watch the next 65 days, and hopefully it won't happen, or maybe it is a biblical thing and it really is going to happen based on the paradigm that God's given us to show us the roadmap for the next 5 years. But maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm right, or this could just be really bad as the world just disintegrates in front of us, and we now see a new war front heading down into the Middle East. So you have multiple more war fronts going on right now. This is going to get insane, and God told us this was going to happen. So we don't need to just concentrate on, understanding the Lord is in control here, but this is going to get insane. You've got Ukraine up here and Russia going at it. And that's why I said you got multiple war fronts. You got Ukraine and Russia going at it. You got China potentially going against Taiwan and Japan. You got North Korea and South Korea here potentially going at it. You always got to watch India and Pakistan. Okay, and then you got a potential war coming up here, and everybody's all concerned about somehow Russia is going to get through the Caucasus Mountains into a land invasion into Israel someday, which is impossible. Okay, I just did a video about how the Caucasus Mountains pretty much prohibits any real major military confrontation from way up north here. And so we need to watch Turkey, and you need to realize that we're going to see a destruction from Iran, from Turkey, and that's then going to end up in Egypt and then back in Israel in the next year, is going to get really insane. And there's going to be more fronts breaking out. But the one you really need to watch, and I've been talking about this for years, and no one else is talking about Daniel 8. It's amazing. If you go out and Google this, no one's talking about this. So I'm going to run over to my paradigm real quick. I'll show you where we are, and then we'll see how this plays out in the next 65 days based on what my paradigm's telling me. So if you go to my website at endofdaysurvival.com, it's a free site. I sell nothing on here but information. Hopefully somebody's paying attention. And you run down this page, you go to this fourth PDF file, and you click on this file. It will take you to my paradigm chart, or my timeline for the next 5 years. It brings up this chart. Now, I just added these new dates here about this thing I found in Daniel 10, verse 4 and 13 that indicated there was a date stamp here that indicated January 24th of 2023. There'd be a 21-day attack on Israel, and that would end in February 14th of 23. So let's go blow this up, and we'll look at that real quick. So if you go into the paradigm, I've added these two dates because I found them in Daniel 10, okay? I hadn't seen them or equated them to this date, and I just found this. I just put a video together within the last week or two about this. That January 24th of 2023, we would see attack, that Iran would be attacked by Turkey for 21 days, and we would see basically Daniel 8 complete with the destruction of Iran and the Kurds. They would fall as nations, and then that would then morph into an Ezekiel 38-39 scenario as 10 nations start to form and head towards Egypt. Okay? And that by the end of October, based on my paradigm, based on these verses. Now look, I give verses to all these things, except for, it's an Ottoman nightmare and a few things here. All these have verses. We're going to start to see that locust famine hit Israel this spring, okay, if I'm right. Because he always attacks by plagues and famine and disease first. And then we'll see Gog hit Joel 2. This is Joel 1. Joel 2 is going to smack him in the face, and Israel's going to be attacked by Gog. That's going to last 15 days, and then we're going to see a sixth seal break. Okay, so I keep telling people, watch between October 10th and 25th of 23, because you're going to see a potential sixth seal event which changes the world, breaks the world overnight. Okay? We're not even in the Antichrist here. When you get into these first 4 trumpets, we lose a third of the world through trumpets, trumpet devastations. Which I keep saying is a third of the world that's going to be devastated is the communist regions. So I'm not worried about the communists before long, because this has nothing to do with communism. This is a Jew, Christian, Muslim prophecy that God's fulfilling here. And you need to realize that Russia is not the main catalyst. It's Erdogan of Turkey. And that if you go back out on this paradigm, you'll realize I've been talking about him forever. How Erdogan invaded on October 9th of 2019, which is on Yom Kippur, which is on my birthday of all things, and that we saw the shofar blast that warned Israel that the king of the north was going to come against them back in September of 2020, and that we were going to start the 2300 days and mornings, mornings and nights, and June 30th, and that this is ramped up. And just after Erdogan was released here, we saw the COVID come out at the end of 2020, the beginning of 2020. The beginning of 2020, we saw that very first day we had a global pandemic on our hands. And since then, it's just gotten worse. And now you have an invasion of Turkey into Syria, which is then going to go into Iraq, and it's going to end up in Iran, over into Egypt, and back into Israel before this is done. And this is all going to happen in the next year or less. Time's short. You need to figure this out. You need to realize Daniel 8's happening in front of you. You can also equate this same prophecy to Isaiah 28, chapter 28 to 38, because it tells us something extremely important there also. We would see Egypt and Turkey sort of align or join Israel, and that when this happens, Turkey would destroy Iran. But Isaiah tells them that this will turn out badly for Israel because they should have relied on God and not these other groups of people or states to help them, these countries to help them, and that they're going to be attacked by Turkey before this one's over. Because once Iran falls by Turkey, Isaiah says, well, Iran is going to fall, the Assyrians going to fall, and then Turkey is going to come and they're going to attack Israel. And we're going to see that play out, where 10 full Muslim nations are going to attack this country in the next year, and we're going to see a sixth seal event pop, and it's going to change the world. It's going to change the world, and it's going to change everybody, and nobody's ready. Nobody has enough food in their pantries. Nobody has the ability to go out and find the water that they need. They haven't prepared. They haven't done anything. And when it finally comes and hits you, you won't have done anything. Because that's human nature of things, is we just don't do anything until the last minute. And then someday you're going to look at your families like I've been telling you, and you're going to look at them in their faces, and you're going to go, I really knew, but I didn't do anything, and now I'm in a terrible place, and you're in a terrible place because I didn't do what was required of me, that God told me to do, was to put a lot of oil on my lamp and get ready for one of the worst possible times on the planet. And it's coming, and you're not getting ready. If you're not preparing something every day, if you're not putting some calories in your pantry every day, if you're not stockpiling things every day, medicines, hygiene, finding ways to, ceramic filters for water filtration, all kinds of things you need to be doing. There's a million prepper channels out there. Go look at a beginning prepper channel and figure out what you need to do. There's so much you need to do. You're just not ready. But this is going to hit you like a freight train, and you're just not ready. I'm not ready, and I've been getting ready for years. God bless everybody tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Daniel 8 isn't starting to form. But based on this timeline, based on these dates, you have 65 days from today before we potentially see an attack on Iran, and that would last 21 days. That would take us into February 14th of 2023, and then we would see Daniel 8 complete. That would take us over to Egypt, up to Israel by October 10th of 23, which would take you into here, and that you would see a destruction of 10 Muslim nations 15 days after that on the 25th of October, based on the paradigm and the verses that I've shown you. God bless everybody. Have a great night.